William Robinson's book is on a special case, namely on the NED and other involvement in the Nicaraguan election, yeah. But these projects are about the whole affair, and it's, you know, it's about what you'd expect from a bipartisan democracy campaign. It's attempting to impose what is called democracy, meaning rule by the rich and the powerful without interference by the mob, but within the framework of formal electoral procedures. And so this is not particularly my opinion. This is an opinion which you can find from, for example, a source that I'd suggest you look at is the leading Reaganite official who worked on democracy enhancement projects in Latin America and happens to be a very honest man. Thomas Carruthers, who's had a book and several articles on Reagan's efforts to, the Reaganite efforts to bring about democracy in Latin America, which he takes very seriously and says they were all very sincere, but he also describes what happened, and what he describes is that there was a negative correlation between U.S. influence and democracy. The less the U.S. had influence, the more there were steps towards democracy. So where U.S. influence was the least, like in the southern cone of the continent, there were the most steps for democracy. The U.S. also opposed them, strongly opposed them, and tried to impede them, but then later took credit for them when they became irreversible, very much what happened in the Philippines and Haiti, incidentally, and in when Marcos and Duvalier were overthrown. Where the U.S. influence was greatest, Central America and the Caribbean, well, he calls it progress to democracy was least. In fact, the destruction of democracy was greatest. It's a more accurate way of putting it. And he then goes on to point out that what the U.S. sought, the ultimate objective of the United States, was top-down forms of democracy that left existing power structures with which the U.S. had been allied in place. That's democracy. And that's right, and that applies at home too. And that's what the NED is about, and the kind of stuff I was talking about is just an illustration of it. You know, again, let me stress that the passion evoked by the attempt of working people to influence their legislators is very revealing. That illustrates the passionate hatred for democracy on the part of educated elites, which is nothing new. It runs all through the literature and occasionally shows up in dramatic forms like this. And the NED has that conception of democracy, not surprisingly. Yeah.
Question.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Professor, what do you have to say about the recent enemy of the month, North Korea? Hardly a day passes when you see something on ABC, CBS, and NBC, not C-SPAN, by the way, but all the rest of the stations about how the North Koreans are about to invade the world or something like of that nature. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. So the question was, what about the current enemy of the month? That's the way you put it, North Korea, which you hear about how they're going to conquer the world every day. Well, there's problems in the Korean Peninsula. I mean, North Korea is isolated and rather desperate and probably trying to figure out some way to get, to enter into the international community. I think they're doing it in a pretty crude way, using the threat of proliferation as a way to try to get some responses and benefits. They feel very threatened, and rightly so. And I think there could be a constructive reaction to this. But why is the U.S. Reacting the way it is? Well, one thing we can wipe out